Hey everyone, and welcome to Setting the Tone with Jordan. I have rebranded my podcast, and now here we are. The first season of Setting the Tone with Jordan is going to be featuring my husband, Will. Thank you so much for accompanying me on this new journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I'm switching over from like only talking about business and branding and faith to like life, motherhood,
marriage,
pop culture, all those things. So marriage, yeah. So I'm excited. So we're just gonna like jump right into this because we had so many technical difficulties yesterday. The kids kept coming in. We'll have to show you some clips of that. It was chaos. And but today is different.
It's sunny out.
It's sunny out. But before we get started, please go ahead and make sure you like and subscribe and be sure to review this podcast to help us to be able to reach more people. All right, let's jump into it.
Let's get it.
So,
Pop question.
What's the pop question? I'm going to ask you, what is one thing I could do better as your wife?
Wow. Just jumped into it.
Yeah, I jumped right into it.
Dang.
I wasn't even planning that.
I can tell. Me neither.
What's one thing I could do better?
I mean, you do everything so well. It's nothing you can really improve on.
It's okay. Okay.
One thing. Wow.
You really can't think of anything I could do better?
I'll
take it.
It has to be like I need to sit and process.
That says so much. I must be doing a pretty good job.
But no, it's some things that could be worked on. But I need to figure out how and what and how to say it. What to say.
Okay. I'll take it.
Dang, that's a good question.
So, you were telling me about. Well, I'll give you time to think about it.
I'll touch back on that.
You were telling me about a TikTok video you saw the other day. Tell everybody what you saw.
Yes. The video was a couple. I think they were living in New York or LA, one of the bigger cities, and they were. Well, the girlfriend was talking about how they split their expenses. They were talking about the bills and what she paid for, what he paid for, and they kind of justified why it made sense for them.
Yeah.
But I went to the comments because you have to go to the comments on TikTok.
Yeah.
The comments are the funniest part of TikTok.
It helps you break down what's going on in the video.
Yeah. And then the comments, everybody was glorifying their situation. Like they were basically saying that, America should move into that direction and it shouldn't be a problem. It shouldn't be looked down upon. It shouldn't be frowned upon.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was. And it was multiple comments, multiple likes.
I'm sure.
Saying the same thing, which was kind of crazy. It
is crazy. I mean, if I could go back in time to when we were in college, I would change some things. I didn't have the wisdom or understanding back then, but I remember we would we'd pack all of our stuff up and we would do like a month at your apartment and then a month at my apartment. We had roommates, but we just kept like switching off because we wanted to be together all the time. We wanted to party together. We wanted to cook dinner together. We wanted to play house. And
playing house.
Yeah. And then I just felt like, I don't know, it was really fun in the moment. And then I graduated and you still had like a year left, but I moved to DC. My aunt had like a penthouse and she was like, hey, you could stay here rent free. And I was like, oh, cool, bet. So I stayed there for some months until her lease was up. And then you ended up moving to DC because you couldn't stay away from me. You kept on visiting. You were like, okay, I'm gonna move here when I graduate. So we essentially moved in together. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this, but when we were
it didn't seem like that, and like during the time.
Yeah, but it really was because I remember when my lease was up, you had already like moved to DC, and we were sitting there thinking like, do we sign a lease
Wait,
with someone
I gotta
like
tell
with an
this.
apartment complex?
I gotta tell the context. I graduated
Yeah,
on a Friday or Saturday,
one of them.
and I moved to DC. Like I picked up everything and moved to DC
The
that
next
Monday.
day, yeah, it was yeah. You
I
dropped
left
everything.
my job. I didn't like put a 2 weeks in. I didn't say I was.
Yeah, that was really
Who was I?
a child. You were a child.
Wow.
I can't believe you did that. But
I literally
Yeah.
picked up my life in Greensboro and hauled it to DC.
you did. You did. And I
That's
just
crazy.
I remember
Looking
us
back.
sitting in the hallway at my aunt's spot, and we were like, what do we do? Do we go home? Do we sign a lease and pay like it was like probably probably $2,500 for rent at the time. It's
What
probably
it is
shot
now.
up. Probably more, yeah, for regular cities now. And I just remember feeling so convicted for signing a lease with you.
We didn't sign a lease.
We didn't. That's what I was like, oh, I don't think I could do this. And my parents were not happy that we were even contemplating it. And my uncle ended up calling and was like, hey, I've got a spot for you guys to come stay at. It's an Airbnb. But you guys can just stay
Crash
here.
out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you remember how much of it, like it felt like an Airbnb. It felt like a faux house. It didn't feel like a real house. It felt like the shell casings of a house, as if we were walking through an IKEA showroom. It did not feel real. And I think that's what people are doing when they live together before marriage, because we did that. It's fake. It's not real. It's like, it's literally walking through an IKEA showroom. You think that it's good for you, but really it's like setting you back, because you are, let's be real. When you live together, what are you doing? You're probably
Getting it in.
you probably having sex. And even you and I, like, we would try not to. We would try not to touch each other, and it was so hard. It was like we just
It was so hard for you.
It was just so hard for you. Couldn't keep your hands off of me. Yeah. And I just feel like, the world really glorifies.
Well, let me ask you, why do you think it's glorified like times 10 now? Because I feel like even then I didn't. So what year was that? Like 2015, 2016. I didn't see that as much as I do now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I see it more now, and people justifying it more now than I did almost 10 years ago. Why do you think that is?
Well, I kind of feel like, I think some people have lost hope. The world moves so quickly, and you can literally get on your phone and see a video of someone who looks good to you and you're attracted to them. Everything's like so quick. And it's hard to find someone who will just have eyes for you and who wants to pursue marriage, because everything else is so like in your face. It's so easy to get. So it's like, you don't have to work for any, microwave culture. You don't have to work for anything anymore. So I think people kind of settle for that out of like, well, this is all I can get. So, and I could be wrong, but I feel like there's some loss of hope, and that's the next best thing to marriage, is just like having someone to live together so you don't have to be alone. I think people fear loneliness more than anything.
You think it has anything to do with like the price of living?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like the inflation, all the marked up prices and just things.
Yeah.
It's just being like, I also saw a video too. This was a husband and wife, but they were like, I'm a stay at home dad, or yeah, how that goes.
The trend.
Yeah. And they were basically saying like, hey, I'm a middle age or a middle class married American. Of course I have to work 2 jobs to be able to, make
Afford
it through.
a basic life. Yeah.
But that's so crazy to me.
Yeah, it is.
So I can see why, that could be a thing of, let's just shack up. Let's just roommate it out
I think so too.
and justify it in that way.
Yeah. And I think when you really like someone, how we used to really like, we used to like each other, but we really liked each other. We really enjoyed hanging out. So it was like, we didn't see a reason to be apart, and no one was telling us not to.
Yeah. I don't think we had I think we did have counsel. I don't think it
Wasn't wise.
wasn't wise
It
because
wasn't
obviously
wise
we did it
counsel.
still. But I just think
Yeah.
too that we were just so naive to. I wouldn't even say naive. I think we just knew that basically everything that we're saying now, we thought the opposite then. Like,
Yeah.
of course we're getting married later on. Of
Yeah,
course
that was my main thing was like, well, what's the point? Like,
Yeah.
you know, and even when it came down to sex, sometimes I would like in my mind, my mind would justify it, but I knew deep down like that was not God's will for
Yeah.
us because things
Wasn't
that are done
order.
out of order, yeah, like when you're out of order, that really can mess things up. And I think that we brought a lot of like sexual impurity into our marriage, and then we had to work through it in counseling, and that was a headache. Like if I could just go back, I would have been like, sorry, no, I can't come over tonight, but we can meet at the coffee shop at 7 a.m. before class. Like I wish I would have. That's how I want to raise our girls and our boys. Like you, like be courted in court. You know.
I think we were just immature in our faith. I know
Yeah.
I was. I didn't have that that seasoning, that maturity to not do those things. I
Yeah.
thought those things were cool, even though I didn't see that growing up. My parents were married
Why do
before.
we think that?
You know, they had me and they were husband and wife, lived together. I didn't see, oh, we're just living together.
I didn't see that either. So
I'm
why
your
did I
mom, that's your
think-
dad, but we're not married, but we're living together. We're playing
Yeah.
this role, but
I think also we really did try to justify it. In my mind, I try to justify living together because we didn't have any bills together. Because we like that's the thing. The enemy will make it look so good. Like, oh, free penthouse. Oh, y'all work together down the street and make a whole. We made a lot of money waiting tables and bartending. We made a lot of money, but it got so deep for me. I was so convicted that I was like, I have to leave. I have to go back and live with my parents. I left Will in DC to fend for himself, even though like I really wanted to be in DC, but it was like, it was so hard. I had to get away. I had to literally like flee from you because it kept sending me back into sin. And so not that, you were
I was a little sinful.
You were sinful, man. You were sinful. So I moved back in with my parents, and that's when I started like asking my friends for accountability. Like, hey, share my location. I cannot be at his house past this time. Will ended up moving back to Charlotte too. You couldn't stay away from me.
No, I moved back
But
to
I
my
was
parents'
like,
house too.
That's true. That's
For a
true.
little while.
But I just remember asking for accountability. I was desperate for help. But I think, people don't, like if you grow up in a Christian household, nobody tells you why not. Why can't I have sex before marriage? Like, okay,
It's just
sure, like
it should be known.
it should be, yeah, but it's not, because like you're like, okay, don't want to get pregnant before marriage. Why? Like don't want to get any STDs. Why? There was no whys about it, and there was no whys, like biblical whys. And I think people don't realize that their soul ties are real. And if you prematurely have sex with someone, you are tied to them for life until it's broken off, like until you break it off and you like repent and turn away from it. But you are literally, a soul tie is when you have sex with somebody and you are attached.
Your souls are tied.
Your souls are tied to them, and then everyone that they have been with, And so that's a scary thought. Like think about everyone that you have been with and everyone that they've been with, and then the people that they've been with. It's like a big web, and you wonder why you're depressed. You wonder why you deal with anxiety. You've never dealt with these things before. You probably have a
Dealing
soul
with
tie from
somebody
somebody.
else's
Yeah.
crap.
It's somebody else's crap that you have
Now
subjected yourself
taken
to because you
on
opened the door,
the portal, yep.
So there are so many reasons, and you think you're going to be with someone forever, and then like they cheat, or they leave, or they have something going on and they got to step back. Like it's just, I feel like in the dating stage, like nothing is promised, even in marriage, but at least you got like a covenant, like you're in covenant, you are in a contractual agreement, like you ain't going nowhere. You know what I mean? So,
well, thank God our souls were tied.
but
Essentially,
God, but no, like God made it like that,
yeah,
though,
I'm
which is
saying,
so
but
cool.
Look at the flip side of what could have been.
Oh,
We
I
would have did all those things and
Yeah.
not married each other.
I renounced soul ties with you before
I
we
think
got
I did
married.
too.
Yeah, we did.
think
We
I
did.
did
We
too,
renounced soul ties. We asked God to literally like cut soul ties between each other before marriage, and then I guess our souls are tied again. But you know, if you want to renounce soul ties, you can literally. I remember being taught this by someone at a church. I think it was Cindy Simpson. She's amazing. But you know, she was like, okay, call out anyone that you've been with in any kind of sexual way. And then even like verbal covenants. So like if you've ever said, I love you so much, I'll never leave you. That is a covenant.
Yeah.
And you can renounce those by just saying, I like rebuke and renounce soul ties with this guy, or this girl.
How many guys?
No, I ain't not. You're the only one.
Dang.
Psych. But you know, and that's something that you can do, and just renounce those soul ties with people. Yeah, and start fresh. Start fresh, and that's between you and God. You don't need an audience. Nobody has to know, but you can renounce those soul ties.
Is it recording? You want to check to make sure?
Yeah, it's still recording.
Make sure I couldn't see it.
Yeah. But I think that we just need a higher standard. I think we were talking about this yesterday when I was like talking about Christians. I think the world calls us hypocrites because everyone says that they're Christian. Everyone. So we got like people who cheat, who steal, who don't believe in marriage, who don't, you know what I mean? Like who are saying, oh, I'm a Christian, I go to church, but they're not really following Christ.
Yeah.
And that was me. And obviously like we still have a ways to go. It will never arrive.
I think it's easy to put on that walk outwardly, and make it look like, you know, we're pursuing God. Mm-hmm. But our heart doesn't match up with what that should look like. Yeah. So even if we do, you know, I can be doing all the right things outwardly, but and it can look good to the world, right? Mm-hmm. But if I'm not doing it inwardly, if my posture isn't, you know, facing Him, towards Him.
My friend reminded me of that scripture of like, you will know them by their fruits. And I think this is like, that's so good because, you know, I was watching something I follow Kanye West on Instagram. And at this point, I don't even know why. Because at one point in time, I'm like, oh, he's a Christian. He gave his life to the Lord. Yay. But like, you will know them by their fruit. And like, where's the fruit? And
wilding again.
And we can judge. As believers, like we are allowed to judge. Judge not unless you be judged. Like, judge me. Hold me accountable. But I'm also going to judge and see like, is there fruit here or is there not? So I can have discernment in how to move. Like, you know what I mean? So, Will, what else do we have to talk about with this topic?
I think we talked about or mentioned that we shouldn't. What did we say?
What did we
Don't
say?
be tempted by the convenience.
Oh yeah,
that
that's a good
goes
one.
back to what?
Yeah.
The original point.
Because it's so expensive.
So expensive.
So expensive to
inflation and just it's easy
to live together. It's
I will say that was probably that's junior senior year was probably like I guess living arrangements wise, that was pretty easy because everything was kind of like split down the middle, like
for you and me.
Yeah. Groceries. We
did.
Was, you know, you had your half, I had my half.
Yeah.
Laundry, all that stuff, like the things that we would pay for by ourselves normally, what we should have paid for by ourselves.
Right.
We were able to split it.
Yeah, for
so
sure.
That was easy. It was convenient, but that didn't make it right.
Right. You know what I remember? I remember like buying Hennessy, and like one week it would be my turn. Kiera, my roommate Kiera, we would like go in on Hennessy too. But like sometimes you would pay for the liquor. Y'all, we were a hot mess. Like, oh my gosh, thank God he has come and rescued us because what?
Yeah, I was wilding.
Yeah.
I was wilding off the chain. I would never tell my kids.
You wouldn't? I don't know if I tell them either.
I would never tell my kids the life that I live.
Well, maybe you
Never.
should. Okay.
Never.
So they're just gonna think that you're perfect.
I would like to think so.
No.
I would like to
They're
think.
gonna become our age and see all of our flaws.
Well,
It's just-
when they
it's
get
just
to
how
that
it
age,
goes.
I'll have that discussion.
True.
Maybe.
So let's talk about some practical tips for people who are thinking about living together or they're already living together. Like what can they do? What can they do? Like I needed a way out, you know. I needed a way
Like I
out.
held you
thought-
captive or something.
my heart was held captive in a way that was like I was so bound to my desires, what
Okay.
I wanted.
Because I want you to know that you always had a way out. You
I
could've
did. I
left.
did.
I never held her captive. I
We know
never
that.
put a gun to her head and
We
said she
know.
had. I never R. Kelly'd her.
Oh my gosh.
I never said.
No, you didn't.
You gotta stay
but
here.
It felt like that. And I think sometimes, you know, when you're in relationships, it literally feels like there's no way out. Even if you really love the relationship, but it's like a constant battle of following Jesus and doing what your flesh wants and what's easy and what feels good.
So before
It is like you feel like you're getting R. Kelly'd.
So
by the devil.
before you go into the practical steps, one more
Yeah.
thing about, now that you say that,
Yeah.
the relationship being like people being in love with the relationship
Mm-hmm.
more than a marriage. I think that too, that was us. I think we loved the fact, but again, we knew essentially we were getting married.
Yeah, we wanted to.
But I think at that point in time, I think we knew that, this relationship is the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't know about you. That's how I felt.
Aw.
That was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Really?
So yeah, so I was like, I know what marriage is and what it looks like, but I'm okay if we don't do that right now because this is perfect. It's not, we're not forcing each other to do anything we don't want to.
Yeah.
We're not tied down to one another, but also we have this lifestyle that works for us.
Yeah.
In this moment, we're young. We can, we can be that couple of our friends that are, people look up to, which they did, but we were still
We're leading them astray.
leading them astray, not doing it the right way.
Right.
But again, I wasn't trying to hear otherwise at that time. So I think looking at it now, and for people now that's going through this or maybe struggling with this, I think that glorifying their relationship with one another versus the end goal, which should be marriage, I think that puts people in a box of, this is it. This is all I have to look forward to.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. That's
Yeah.
when the bills come into play, the splitting up of bills and the expenses and, not being held accountable by other people.
Yeah.
It's just a domino effect of just out of orderness. Out of orderness, if that's even a word.
Disorder.
Disorder. I
Yeah,
scrambled
yeah.
that up.
I think that leads me to my last point I want to make is that the word says that we should avoid even the appearance of evil. And I mean, we don't have it all together.
Absolutely
But
not.
I just kind of cringe sometimes, even though I know that we're forgiven. I cringe. It's a song, Forgiven. I cringe at like us thinking that we had it together to any capacity back then, because what people saw was the appearance of evil. It was the appearance of evil to the point where our pastor thought that we were living together when we finally stopped. He thought we were living together and wanted to marry us, like,
On the spot.
in private, like, all right, y'all sinning, let's go ahead and nip this in the bud. But the Bible says to avoid even the appearance of evil, and if you're burning with desire, if you're burning with passion, get married
Or get out.
or get out. Get married or get out. And marriage is hard. Marriage is so hard.
That's another episode.
That's
in
another
itself.
episode for another day, Lord. Okay, so let's move on to practical tips for people who may be struggling with this desire to move in together, or they're afraid to move out and they don't know what's going to happen if they part ways. First of all, pray about it. Pray about
Absolutely.
it, because God will show you. He'll give you a way out.
It may not be what you were looking for It may not be pretty. It won't be pretty.
It
I'm
won't.
not going to even say it may not be pretty. It won't be pretty.
And it won't feel good.
Because it's going to be one of those things where, again, it's going to be from God. You're going to know it. Like your conscience is going to allow you to know it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have to wrestle with it, like, dang, it is from God.
Yeah.
It probably is.
Yeah.
From God.
If you were wrestling, like,
It's from God.
Yeah. If it hurts, yeah.
It's from God.
Basically. So the first practical tip I'm gonna leave is find a roommate. That could feel like, oh, I don't like anybody. The thing is, like, if you're splitting expenses, you can like rent out a nice big home and not even see that person. You know, you might find somebody who's never home and just works a lot. It might be a doctor or a nurse that just like needs a nice spot.
I got
never
lucky
home.
like that when she moved back to Charlotte.
Yeah.
When I stayed in DC.
Oh yeah.
I got lucky like that.
Yeah, you did. You did.
So it can happen.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Yeah, for sure. And then you can move back home with parents, family, aunt, uncles, cousins. I know that doesn't sound good, but you know what? It's one of the best things that if you have a solid family unit or like a solid family to go back to, run home. Like you can always run home. We have run home multiple times, even after marriage with a kid. We lived in my parents' house and we stacked up and we were able to buy our house now. Mm-hmm. So like you're never moving backwards, moving home. That's getting ahead in my
This could be another episode too, but the notion of, when they're 18, they got to go. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
My kids would never be able to say that mom and dad told me to get out at 18.
I feel like you would tell Crew to get out.
If he keeps peeing on himself, get out now, today. But no, my kids would never be able to say that. But again, that could be another episode.
Yeah. No, I hear that.
What's the last step?
Okay, the last one was get married. Oh my gosh.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah, get married.
If you live with that person, you're doing life together, why not get married?
Not? And then if they don't want to get married, then what? What if the guy doesn't want to get married? Or maybe the girl doesn't want to get married? What?
I think there needs to be a conversation between the two. Probably a mediated conversation.
Like counselor, therapy.
And some hard conversations need to be had. What are our goals? Mm-hmm. What are we working towards? What are we living for right now in this relationship?
That's good.
Are you living for marriage with me? Or are you living just to, be a mom or dad if you have kids? Mm-hmm. What does it look like, or what will it look like a year from now?
Yeah.
What's the plan? Like, what's plans? What are we doing?
No.
Conversation got to be had.
I agree.
Conversations has to be had.
Well,
let me get back to the one thing that you could work on.
Did you think of something? Okay, go ahead.
One thing that I think you could work on is, you can tell me too if we have time at the end, but one thing I think you could work on is, and we've talked about this before too, making not hasty decisions, but big decisions when it comes to business without like my input. Yeah. Like, granted, I get the idea, I understand the concept in doing so. Like, you want to get it done. It makes sense right there in that moment. Let me do it, because it could the ROI could be like major. Yeah. But on the flip side of that too, I've seen where sometimes it doesn't have a big return on investment. But you can also say that, on the flip side of that, you tried it. You did it, right? Yeah. But I think maybe letting me know or talking to me about it just to get my perspective, even if you still do it, just to hear me out and what my thoughts are on it, I think that would be like beneficial. Okay. Moving forward.
But thank y'all so much for watching and tuning into this podcast. Be sure to rate and review and like and subscribe and all those things. We'll see you guys next time.